It is time for a super special stream that I just decided to do like at the last minute here. So yesterday I set up this temperature sensor underneath my deck to basically see how hot this heat wave is going to be. So far the heat wave has been pretty significant out here in the Pacific Northwest. And my son had this idea. He's like, you should put one of those inside a parked car with the windows cracked to see exactly how hot it gets inside the cabin during this heat wave. So we're going to do that. Let me bring up, so I've got this Raspberry Pi 3 here with the AM2302 sensor hooked to it. I've got it hooked up and sitting inside the Ford Focus right now. And what I'm going to do is we're gonna build this out, make sure the sensor works. Then we're gonna send it to adafruit.io, and I'm gonna have my wife start up the car, run the AC, get it to a good temperature. I'll send her a text at some point during the stream, get it to a good temperature. That way we can see how fast the temperature goes from comfy sitting in AC to scorching hot, which I imagine. And look at that, PNW heat wave is trending right now. So I'm going to use some of the, here's the wiring that I've got set up. So I wrote an article about this about a year ago. I've written a ton of articles about gathering temperature off a Raspberry Pi, and it seems like it changes every time, which is kind of frustrating. Like every time I sit down to do this, the libraries have changed something else. But again, I'm going to use the Adafruit library with Python and send it to adafruit.io. The throughput out of that car into my Wi-Fi seems to be pretty good. So I don't think I need to do any backups or anything. Let's look at where we're at right now. This is the temperature under my deck. And we just broke 100 degrees Fahrenheit with 32% humidity. It's freaking horrible out there. And so we're going to compare and see what it is inside the car too. So I have Raspberry Pi 3 here somewhere. There it is. This is our Raspberry Pi 3. This is the one that is sitting inside the Ford Focus right now. So I installed the Adafruit Python DHT library. I'll bring this up on screen so folks can see it. And I just cloned this down from GitHub. So this is a deprecated library, it looks like, which yeah, maybe I'm using a newer one. Let me check really quick. I didn't think it was deprecated when I pulled it down last night. Oh yeah, I did. I pulled down the deprecated library. That's fine. It'll work. So one of the things we can do with this library here, I can never type when people are looking. And I also need to bring up my chat window. So you may have noticed, I haven't streamed from this machine in a long time. This is my Arch Linux machine. That's why I'm wearing the Arch Linux shirt. But I haven't streamed from this machine in almost a year. So I went back in, put in some of my new branding and stuff, and I noticed that the chat window over here does not work for whatever reason. So what I'm going to do is just bring up Restream Chat in a browser window so we can read the chat messages, and I will figure that out later why Restream Chat just stopped working. So I'll open this in browser. That way I can see it. If somebody says something interesting or asks a question, I'll just bring this little chat window over. Yeah, I'm not really sure why Restream Chat is no longer working on my Linux box, but I'll figure it out. And you might be wondering why I have the big giant Twitch logo down here. If you're watching me on Twitch, you're probably like, yeah, dude, I know your Twitch username. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm also streaming on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube, and I encourage you to follow me on this Twitch channel because at certain points I'm going to be doing more stuff directly on Twitch. So you'll want to follow twitch.tv/Jeremy Morgan if you want to see some of my stuff that I'm going to be doing in the future. So now I will shut up and get to work. Let's see here. Pi at Raspberry Pi 3. We'll go to examples. I've got some notes here. Now what I've done is hook this up on pin 4. So if we go back over here, it is hooked up on this pin rather than this pin. Now pin 6, for some reason with this sensor, when I connected it the last time, it didn't want to run off pin 6, it wanted to run off pin 4. So just imagine that you have a Raspberry Pi and we're still pulling off that 3.3 power supply. We're still using this for ground, but this pin is right over here. So let's test it out here. Now with the examples, we have to do sudo. And this is, so what I'm doing is running this Adafruit DHT PY. This is a sample PY. Since this is a 2302 sensor, I'll put that in and then pin 4. So super easy syntax. You just run sudo dot whatever sensor you're using and then pin 4 for pin 4. Let's see if it's working. And it appears to be working. And it says 51.6, that's in Celsius. We're going to convert that. And then humidity is 15.9%. I'm not really sure if I trust that because look over here, we can see that the humidity outside is 30.8. We actually haven't got down to that low of humidity since yesterday. And check this out. Yesterday, we hit like, 111.17, so pretty good. This is not something Oregon is used to. That's why we're all freaking out about it. So let's make a new sensor. We'll just make their projects. And I'm just going to name this car sensor. That'll work. And it would help if I spelled it properly. Car Senior would be a cool name too, but so I'll go here, vim car sensor.py. Sweet. So for this one, I'm trying to remember, we need to run true, and what I'm going to do, I have to import the time library for one because I'm gonna do a little pause. What I'm going to do is just put this in an endless loop. This is not a production level IoT application by any means. So I'm just going to do a while true loop and just loop this thing over and over and make it take sampling every 30 seconds. So we'll take this, we'll do import time and import Adafruit DHT. Import board. And I have instructions for all of this stuff on jeremymorgan.com. I've done this, repeated this so many times that I've got this all over the place. Okay. And today's music is brought to you by Harris Heller and his fine library of copyright-free music for streaming. Good stuff. Make sure to check it out, do a search. So I'm doing the Adafruit DHT library, and I think I need to do Adafruit IO also, but I haven't installed that one yet. So let's look up how to do that. Because it's been a while. Libraries. Library supports following platforms. And we'll go to Adafruit IO. Sign in. This is what I'm using for my other cool little reader that I set up. So I've set up a few of these. This is the most recent one, temperature under the deck. And that's one we were just looking at earlier. We're going to set up another one of these. We're going to say Temperature inside the car. Parked car. Create. Ah, dashboard limit reached. That's okay, I can kill most of these, I think, since I'm not using them anymore. And this one should be the only one I have now. So now I'll create a new dashboard. Temperature in a parked car. That's pretty good. So I cracked each of the windows about 1 inch because, you know, all these idiots that leave their animals and children in cars, they always say, well, I cracked the windows for them. We're going to show that that means nothing at all. So temperature inside a parked car, going to have to add. And actually what I'll do is let's make sure we can read from this thing to start with. Then we'll pipe it into Adafruit. I don't have a super solid plan for that yet. But we'll make sure that we can read it. So we need to create a DHT object. DHT, and this is going to be Adafruit. I'm not even sure if I say it right. And I've watched their videos. 22. This is why I imported board, because I board, yeah, I'm not really sure which pin that would be. So let me check my own blog post on this. This one is in Go, but I have this, there it is. So it's GPIO 17 is this one, which means this one would be GPIO 4. So let's just make sure that this thing works. We'll do try. Temperature equals DHT temperature. I don't remember if that's, I don't think that's capitalized. Then we need to multiply it by 9 divided by 5, because we're going to go in Fahrenheit. We're in America and we use silly measurement systems. So we all know how to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit. I wish we used Celsius in America. We really don't. Actually, let's just print this out for now, because I think I'll do humidity too. Humidity, and that one can be just DHT humidity. Print. And then we'll do accept runtime error, because that's what we run into a lot with this. And if we get a runtime error, we'll print read failure or something, plus E. And I think that's pretty much all we should need for this. It's not going to run the first time, but we're going to try it anyway. Char sensor.py. Except runtime error Z. Oh, there's not supposed to be a colon in there. Import. No module name. Was it with pip that we installed this? I believe so. I get cloned it earlier, that deprecated library, but indexes, requirement already satisfied. Maybe I need to install with pip 3. Still no Adafruit DHT. So let's Google it. That's what we do, right? Maybe the problem is that completely deprecated library, but we're going to make it work. Made it work on the other one. I don't know for sure if I installed the setup tools on this particular Raspberry Pi. I've got so many of these running right now. Let's just follow the directions. Also, I did not sudo pip install that, so that's probably another problem. All my stuff is running here. All right, cool. So I'm just going to copy and paste. This is what people do, man. Google it, copy and paste it. All right, now this should work. Still no import. So we'll just keep looking through this. Ah, there we go. I know I need that one. Adafruit IO is what's going to send it to that dashboard. So let's install that also, because we want to send this to a dashboard. Let's check out the examples really quick in that other one that I had here. Let's git clone this, like the directions say. And we'll check out their examples. This might be completely different from the way I have the other Pi set up right now. Let's run the little setup, make sure the library is installed, and then we'll see if we can glean something from that one of those examples to see how we set this up. All right, let's check this out here. This doesn't look much different from what we're doing here. So that could be an issue. Let's see. Maybe I don't need the import. Thought I did, but maybe I don't need this at all. Just delete it. Put time, import board. Nope, we definitely do. DHT. The board comes from Adafruit DHT, so And I'm going to look up my own stuff here also. See how I set up the last one. Just me on our tutorials. This one is the Raspberry Pi Zero. So you install Raspberry Pi OS. We've already done all that. That's what I'm probably missing right there. Live GPIO. What's sad is I think I probably wrote this a year ago and I've already forgotten most of this stuff. But I do need these two libraries. Now it'll probably run. Sweet. So we did have a read failure here. Full buffer was not returned. So let's just jump in and look at the code a little bit here. So let's start with just temperature. We'll just try to get the temperature going for now. Let's see. Temperature. This should be. So we've got so we've got Adafruit DHT. We don't need time yet. DHT equals our. Read failure. Let's look at that again. Not float to string. So what we could do is round it because it does produce a giant float. So we'll do display temp. And for that one, we're going to round our temperature to 2 places. Where did I go? There we go. I'm not sure I want this to be a string. When I go to send it, but to look at it for now, it's fine. We'll just we'll string this one too. Temperature. Checksum didn't validate. Interesting. Now with this particular sensor, I was just going to say, sometimes you just got to hit it 2 or 3 times. We were already at 130 degrees inside that car. What the heck? Humidity is 13.1. Let's look at our predictions so far. All right. Stefan Dietz says, with 100 plus outside, you should see temps of at least 140. Correct. We're almost close. I just dropped this thing in there about 10 minutes ago. And Patrick Weinman says 147. All right. Santosh says you should do readings with both closed and cracked open windows. Great idea. I'm going to do that today for sure. But okay, so now we're able to read these temperatures. Busting them out as a string, printing them out. Sweet, awesome, great, everybody's happy. I'm gonna hit it a few more times. So with these sensors, they're just cheap sensors. So sometimes you hit them and you get those checksum errors or values not returned. So right now I'm just hitting it to see if I can make it break like that again. Not really too worried about it. So to get the Adafruit library set up, I'm gonna go back over here where we're creating this. And it's been a little while, so I gotta remember how to create a feed. See if I can create a new feed for this. I know we have blocks, but we're not really ready for blocks. We need feeds. Can I create a new feed from here? What the heck? Oh, there we go. New feed. This one is going to be car temperature. And I'm going to try not to share my API keys here, so I'll probably move it off the screen, put in a key, whatever. Car humidity. Inside the car. Create. Cool. I can add data from here. So I think I can just plug in directly to this feed. So I'm going to go here, grab my key, and then I'm going to put them in a super secret file off screen here. Vim keys.py keys. I'm going to dump them in here. Try something really quick here. Cool. It's not that I don't trust y'all, but I'm not going to give out my API keys here. Mostly I'd just be afraid of somebody trolling and dumping a bunch of crap data in there. So now I've got my keys in a different file that you folks cannot see. So we're back over here. Now I need to create a client with that information. So coming from my notes here, if I remember, yeah. So here's how I did it before. We're going to say from Adafruit IO import IM client. And this is the old school way of doing it, by the way. Everybody uses MQTT these days. I'm not really ramped up on that quite yet, but that will be a future stream for sure. Okay, so the first key needs to be my username. So I'm going to put Adafruit. I've got a couple constants here, username, and then the second one needs to be my key, which is Adafruit IO underscore key. Can't import the client. We'll find out why that is in a minute. Fruit IO. So I'm not sending it anything yet. And I'm looking through my own notes right now to see. Yeah, I'll just bring this over on the screen so you can see. Did that, we set the keys. Pip3 install. I thought I did this, but I'm probably going to have to do it again. We'll do it with sudo. Successfully installed. Oops. Still can't import that client. Adafruit DHT. That's interesting. Did I sudo pip3 that or? Yeah. Try pip3 for me. Requirement already satisfied. Yeah, I didn't think that was going to work. So I think what I need to do is sudo this thing. Nope. Very interesting. Yeah, import local name. I mean, maybe I typoed it. Oh, import client. I don't know where I got that IM client from. That, who knows? So let's try this. There we go. So now we know we are logging in. Everything is cool. Now the next part of this is sending in this data. So let's do a little modification here. Now I mentioned the silly way that I'm doing this, which is while true. Actually, let's just do we'll do a couple of single sends first, and then we'll throw it into a while loop. It should be fine. So looking at my notes here, we've got, let's see, we're not going to want to string this stuff if we're sending it to the IO. We're just doing that for display purposes. So we're no longer stringing the data. We can just remove this stuff. So now that I have my IO username and password and I know that I'm able to log in, I should be able to create this. So for the temperature feed, we'll call it temp feed. Actually, just say temperature feed. we say temp, it makes it sound temporary. What is it? AIO.feeds. Oh yeah, I have it right down below me in my own article here. AIO feeds. What did we call that? Car humidity? Yep, car humidity and car temperature. So say car humidity, and then we need to send it. AIO send data. Or no, it's not hump feed key, it's temperature feed key. A little ahead of myself there. So that's going to be, we ended up calling that display temp, didn't we? So we're just going to rename this. We'll send it as is, whatever. So one of the things about this Adafruit IO library is you actually grab the key. So you say temperature feed equals, not minus, AIO feeds, and then you need to take that temperature feed key and pass that into send data. So you're going to take the key from that, pass it into send data with the information that you're sending, and your client is using your username and password, and everything should be hunky-dory there. Humidity feed looks the same way. IO.feeds. And I can't believe, I'm just so scatterbrained today. I chalk it up to the heat. We don't want car humidity in here. We want car temperature. The next one, we want car humidity. AIO. Send data. This one's the same thing. Humidity feed dot key, then humidity. This should send our data. I can't think of anything else actually that we need to do. So let's run it. Fingers crossed, right? Nothing. That's what we wanted. We wanted nothing. There we go. There's our values. We've got 130.28, 12.8. Sweet. So what we'll do is we'll start sending this stuff. But before we do that, I'm going to have my wife start up the car and run the AC. Because we want to get it cooled down. I'm going to let her know it's 130 in the car right now. So while she's doing that, she's going to start it up because we want to capture, so I'm probably going to let it run for like 5 minutes or so, but we'll keep this going. We'll start up the loop, get it sending data, and then we'll watch it go down and back up again, ideally. So since we know, we'll run Python car sensor, last value. Yep, we're at 130. So what I'm going to do is set this into a while loop, like I mentioned earlier. I know. It's not the greatest way to do this. Now I need to indent all the things because we're using Python. Python will yell at me if I do not indent all the things. And we need to import time in here because we're going to do a 30-second sleep. So just to explain this, while she's starting it up and getting it cooled down, let's go through the code here and see in just how little of code it takes to do something like this. So we're doing from keys import star, and that's so I can get my keys in without you folks seeing them. Importing the Adafruit DHT library, importing board, time. We're creating a new DHT object with board.d4, which means we're on that fourth GPIO pin. Importing our client, creating a client with my username and key. Then we're taking the temperature, we're grabbing that DHT temperature, turning it into Fahrenheit, and then rounding it down to, which we don't really even need to do, I think, for this, but I just did it anyway. It looks a little better. Then we're grabbing our humidity from the DHT. Then we are creating a temperature feed object, grabbing that car temperature feed. Then we're sending a value. So we're sending this temperature to that with the temperature feed key and just sending that value. We're doing the same with humidity. And then we're doing time sleep of 30. So when I kick this off, every 30 seconds it's going to run. And it's just going to kick it in there. So we're going to use no hup. There we go. Now it should be just repeatedly kicking it off. We'll see here. And this is all in this article. It's going to start showing how we're sending data. This one is also using a while true loop. And we're going to create this dashboard here in a minute. Yeah, we should be golden here. I'm going to check my other one, make sure it's running. I don't see it here. Actually, here's one thing I can do to make this work that I forgot to do. We're going to make this executable. So, hash bin environment. We're going to make sure this is Python 3. Now we should be able to do no hup for no hang up. Our sensor PY. This should be sending data every 30 seconds. Yep, there we go. Less than a minute ago. Let's just look at it really quick here. Make sure it's sending it every 30 seconds. Does not appear to be. There we go. And the humidity went way up. So this is clearly my wife is in the car starting it up, probably sucked in some of that humid air. Our next one is 24.7. Let's keep watching this. And actually, let's start up a dashboard here. So, temperature in a parked car. What do we want to put in here? We want to create a new block. I don't remember what I had in the other one. Let's see. Yeah, the other one I have this little circle thing here. Oh, and look at the scale. I put it up to 110 when I originally built this thing months ago. Clearly we need a different scale for today. So for this one, car temperature. Max value, we're going to say 120. Min value. Temperature. I never know how to spell this one properly. Is that? Nope. There we go. Oh, we got a high warning value. Let's set that to 111 because we hit 111 yesterday. And since we're putting this in the car, I forgot about that. 120 is not accurate. 150 is going to have to be, or let's say even 160. We never know. So this looks good to me. Create block. So right now our temperature is 100.94. Did it go down that much? Let's see. We're going to create a new block. What other block did we have? Oh yeah, we had a trend line. And I believe that was a line chart. Car temperature. Show 24 hours of history. Trend. We'll just automatically detect all of this stuff. So this temperature trend may not show much right now. Then we want to create another one for humidity. 0 to 100 seems great. Car humidity, which right now is sitting at 27.5. And we'll do another trend line for that one. Car humidity. Call this one Humidity Trend. Sweet. Dashboard privacy. It's currently private. We don't want it to be private. We're going to show everybody. All right, so there's our trend lines. There's our blocks. Edit layout. So I think I want it to be laid out just like the other one. Save layout. Now we're 99.5 inside the car. So right now, my wife is just letting it run with the AC blasting. I'm going to make sure this is publicly viewable by everybody. So we'll go in incognito. Cool. Everybody can view it. I'm going to tweet this out under my tweet. And we're going to shut it off and watch it rise. Let's see, I'll just reply to everybody, I guess. let's see where we're at right now. So this is temperature under the deck. It's 104. This is inside the parked car. I will be right back. I'm just gonna go check and do a little look-see of it. See how it looks. Hello friends, we're back. So, it is running. It actually feels pretty decent inside the car. And according to this, it's 99.5, but it's probably because I went out in the driveway where it's 105 right now, and then jumped into that car where it was 99.5, but it's pretty close. We're gonna say it's a little bit lower than temperature. So I will shut it off. Shut the car off here in a minute, and we're going to watch how fast it rises back up. Oh, okay. All right, so we just shut it down. Now the AC is no longer going. All 4 windows are cracked. Let's see where it goes. Outside, it's 105.6. We should start to see a pretty good rise. I'll bring in some of the chat here since my chat window's broken. Legend 813A says BME 2080 machine. I don't know what that means. And then Derek says, how frequently does it refresh? And it's every 30 seconds. And then that's pretty cool that Derek is on this stream. He was one of the people that helped me get into computers way back in the day, back around the time of the Civil War when we were teenagers. He helped me out a lot with getting connected to BBS systems and configuring modems and getting on, yeah, like I said, we were teenagers. It was a long time ago. Believe it or not, they did have electricity back then, and they had computers, and I had an 8286 ancient machine, and Derek helped me out a lot with getting that configured and helped me kind of inspire me to get into this stuff. So I owe a lot to Mr. Derek. He's a great guy. And also, for some reason, we've worked at the same company like 5 times or something over the last few decades. So it's kind of funny how that works. It's like, oh, hey, you work here too? Yeah. At several places. Starting with McDonald's, of all places. So let's see what the temperature is going to go up to. And I may need to check my feed because it seems like it hasn't updated for... Looks like last update 116. It is 125. It is not updating. Do we need to run the no-hup again? This is kind of a shaky system I've got here. One thing I should do now, this is just kind of a rush thing because it was just like, oh, I should do this thing. And then I went out and did it. But I think what I should probably do this week is create a real program, like a real Unix service that runs and pulls this thing and recovers and starts itself up and all of that kind of fancy stuff instead of this while loop inside of a Python script that's kind of cheesy. Let's see what's going on with the car temperature feed. Already up to 104. 125.48. All right, if it doesn't update in another few seconds here, I'm gonna have to figure out why. Nope, there it goes. Now we're already at 106. So I shut off the car and yeah, it's gone all the way up to 104 to 106 there in 30 seconds. So it's going up there. Derek says, I did the quick math. That seems like more than 30 seconds. Absolutely. It stopped taking a sample there from 125 to 126. And my guess is it threw an exception. These little sensors do that. They're not super reliable units. Now we're at 107. Oh, and also these things are based on ticks, and yeah, it's not exactly 30 seconds. The time sleep, there's quite a bit of clock drift in these little Raspberry Pis, but it's good enough for government work, right? 109. So we are scooting. Now we can't tell the difference between the temperature in the parked car or under the deck. Now we're at 109, which it's odd that it shows it's over 111 here, but it's okay. Outside it is still 105.9. Pretty consistent, but this one's rising. The one in the parked car is ostensibly rising fast, which is what we expect, right? So let's say today somebody's keeping their pet in a vehicle and saying, oh, I cracked the windows. Well, guess what? It's already hotter than it is outside the car in the last couple minutes. Don't leave your pets and children in vehicles on hot days crying in a bucket. Shouldn't take a Raspberry Pi and temperature sensors to tell you that. We're at 111.38. So probably not going to sit on this feed for the next hour to see how high it goes, but I just wanted to see how much it raises within a kind of a quick little period of time. Derek says, the weather has me wondering if I actually moved back from Arizona or imagined the whole thing. We're not prepared for this. Oregon rarely sees these kinds of temperatures. As Derek knows, he grew up here. We just rarely see stuff like this. I'm trying to figure out where my other restream window went. Because the music stopped, which tells me something went weird. It's fine. Oh, and I'm not logged into Spotify. Let's create another window. There it is. We're now at 114. So there was a bit of a gap here, right? Yeah, there's a little bit of a gap here, but we went from 98.6 to 104.54. Then there was a little more than 30 seconds here. Or no, that was about 30 seconds. 106, 107, 109. Now we're already up to 114. 115. How high will it go? I'll bring the chat back in here since my chat. Generally, the chat would be between, you know, where you're looking and you see my head and then my accurate logo. There's usually chat between there. For some reason, on my Linux machine, it stopped working. Haven't figured it out. Derek says, I work in a data center in Hillsboro right now, and we're struggling with the heat at the moment. I bet. And I bet Derek remembers when the 2 generators went out at Hollywood Video and our data center went to 130 something degrees as we all ran in there to shut off servers when the HVAC wasn't working. That was good times. I fear he may be in that same boat today. Underwater data centers don't look so silly now. Let's see. We're at 116. So we're just going to sit and watch it. So we've definitely passed up what we are outside. Actually, for that little threshold, I think I'll just set that for, let's see. Where can I find the link? $117. And I'm going to tweet this out so that... That's right, I did. So, where are we at here? I'm just watching this feed to make sure it doesn't choke out. So far, it looks like it's doing pretty well. $119.48. Holy moly. Now, somebody just tweeted on Twitter, I don't own an account to watch live streams. I'm just watching. All of these live streams should be, shouldn't need an account to watch any of them. Like the one on Twitter should be going right here. Look at that. It's like a mirror. Yeah, you can watch it free on Twitter, YouTube, all of them. Shouldn't need an account for any of them, I think. So let's see, gas and temperature. We're at 105. I'm not sure why that layout changed, but. And in the car, we are already at 120. So here's with the AC going, and then we shut it off, and we're already at 120 degrees inside that car. Freaking amazing. And I've got the windows cracked open a little bit. I'll tweak some pictures here really quick. Just as evidence that we have the windows cracked, I'm tweeting that. So it's a 4-door car, and I have all 4 windows cracked. About an inch, inch and a half, somewhere around there. So I'm just refreshing, 121. So we are far above what we are outside, which outside's ridiculous at 105. But we are a solid 121.28. Holy moly. And I still like to watch the live feed just to make sure. Yikes. So we're at 121. Now if I remember the guesses here, what's the max operating temp for an RPI? Great question. I thought about that too, if this thing catches on fire. I actually have a fire extinguisher right next to the car, which should surprise nobody as a firefighter, because if something goes haywire with that pie, I'm just going to blast it really quick before anything silly comes up. So the two guesses, 140 and 147. I think we will probably hit that, just based on what I'm seeing. And remember, the temperature of the day is also going up. So our ambient temperature outside everywhere is also going up. It's at 106. I think when we started this stream, it was probably a degree lower. Let's see, how long have I been running here? 14 minutes according to Restream. That's not right, but that's fine. So we've been going for a little while, but I think it was around 12:50. So it was like 102, and now it's 106. So the outside temperature is going up too. And this thing is going wild. So I'm going to set this threshold for 105. If I can. I'm not even really sure. I thought I already did this. Adjustment here. Save layout. Edit block. High warning value is anything over 105. So that's how far we are above 105. Holy moly. What's interesting is the temperature, or the humidity, is considerably lower inside the vehicle. So we're gonna arrange this one the same way. Hi, babe. We are live on stream, man. You can come on and say hi if you want.
Okay.
My beautiful wife. We
Hi.
are live on stream, so check this out. 122.9.
I've been watching it in the other room.
Holy moly.
Yeah, that's insane. So
Still seems to be
interesting
going
that
up.
it's 17 degrees hotter than the outside temp.
Yeah. This is when I shut it off.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's at almost 25 degrees and what are we at? 13 minutes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say hi to Derek.
Hi, Derek.
So this temperature's gone up a little bit too since I started somewhere around, I think, 1250,
Mm-hmm.
like 102, 103. So it's going up outside too.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
Crazy.
Hot tamale.
I wonder if leaving the windows open is going to prevent it from getting up to that 130 mark that it was when it was closed.
I don't know. Somebody on Twitter suggested that I do one with the windows up and the windows down.
Mm-hmm. That's what I
So-
was thinking too.
I think we should do that.
'Cause at least it has some of that outside air coming in, even if it's 105-degree outside air. Interesting. All right, well, I'll let you get back to it. All right.
Looks
Bye.
like looks like it died again.
Oh.
It keeps dying. It's not a very solid. Whoops. Not a very solid sensor.
Is it too hot?
Oh, that could be too. But
I wonder if it's overheating. What's the top temp on it? We might find out.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know any of these things. I should know these things. But I think I am going to shut the stream off. Thank you, everybody, for coming to watch this silly, unorganized thing. Look, it's starting to flatten out, so, you know.
Yeah, so I wonder, I bet that, oh wait, nope, it didn't. That
Oh.
was when it shut down.
Oh, yeah, now we're
Let's
124.
pop back up.
Hot tamale.
Come back up.
It's a hot tamale. The air conditioner only brought it down to 98 degrees.
I know, I thought that was interesting too. And it flatlined there, like it wasn't that it just didn't have time to cool it off. But my, so interesting thing, my inspector posted a photo today that showed that most ACs will cool about 20 degrees below outside temp. So when we have these insanely high temps, they're only designed really to operate at about a 20-degree drop.
That
I don't
makes
know
sense.
I don't know if that's true or not.
That makes perfect sense,
Me.
actually.
He's more of an expert in that area than I. But interesting that it maintained at that 98.6 temp. And if we look at the outside temp at that same time, I wonder what that was.
It was somewhere.
Or was it 125 when you shut it off? So 105, and it was maintaining at 98.6. So yeah,
Yeah.
right, 17 degrees. Yeah, interesting. And that's where it tabled off. Very interesting. All right, bye.
See if it's Still grabbing values. 142. Let's see how high it's gonna go. I'll shut this off in probably a couple minutes. We broke 125. So for those of you watching, I've got links to both of these on my Twitter feed. So this is the one for the car, if you want to watch it. I'm going to roll up the windows and try that, as Santosh suggested. And probably just leave it today. I don't know when the temperature will peak today. It is 1:45, and I believe it is supposed to get hotter. It's supposed to be hotter today than it was yesterday. Yesterday, we got up here to 110, 111 area, so I'm expecting that again today, considering we've got a lot of afternoon left. And maybe I'll jump on and do another stream if I decide to do something different. One thing, I wanted to put this together and I kind of put it together in a hurry. One thing I want to do is do a real, like I said, a real Linux service that recovers itself and all that kind of stuff, rather than doing a no hang up on a Python script that's doing a while loop. But we'll do something a little better. Maybe even use some .NET Core. And I'm going to have to adjust the scale of my temperature here, because I know it's going to go above that. So I'm going to edit this block. This is room temperature, and it's not really a room, it's from an old thing that I set up. Max gauge value is going to have to be like 120. And for here, high warning value, I will put in, what was it, 111? Because that was yesterday's. There we go. Now we'll be able to see when we break yesterday's record. And then for the other one, I have it set to the outside temperature, which right now is 107. Holy moly. So we're well beyond that. We're now creeping up to the 130 range already. So I might have to do a little work to this to make sure it's still working. Should see another value popping in here. I'll bring this in. So, whoops. Derek says, is the humidity sensor detecting absolute humidity or relative humidity? It's supposed to be relative for this particular sensor, and it says he suspects as air temp increases, its capacity to hold water increases, so the absolute humidity will stay the same with temp, and relative humidity would decrease. Yeah, that is, and I'm by no means a weather expert. I'm sure Derek knows a lot more about that than I do. However, that is exactly what we saw yesterday. You can see temperature and humidity are almost inverse to each other as the day went on. So yeah, absolutely. The air temp increases and yeah, decreased. So it looks like we're going to do another record day. I was going to do something similar to this yesterday, but we had a whole bunch of fire calls and stuff come up. Today, hopefully I'll have a little bit more time to goof around with stuff like this. Check my feed again. And I'm going to keep going throughout the day and make sure, or I might write something write something a little better so this stays up. But we're now at 127.58. We're getting super hot inside that car. Holy moly. It's a dry heat. It's fractal, yeah. It's ridiculous out there. I do not like going outside right now. I'm not used to this kind of weather. 90 to 100, it's like, yeah, whatever. Over 100. 107, 22% humidity is not fun. And inside that car is definitely not fun. So I'm just thinking I probably should have stuck this in my F-350 because that's a 4-door truck with windows all around the sides, and it just seems to get very, very, very hot in there because there's a lot of areas for the sun to shine in. And my Mustang also seems to get really hot because the interior is black, but my Mustang's inside the shop right now. And Pseudome says, one of my friends went to the coast yesterday. That wasn't a good idea. I saw some pictures from Sand Lake yesterday and from areas of the Oregon coast that were more people than I think I'd ever seen in my life. Yeah, the Sand Lake thing, or easily a few thousand people just in that photograph that he took, and there's like all of these, razors and quads and stuff all lined up, and just like you could see crowds and crowds of people out there at Sand Lake and out the coast. We went to the coast last weekend and it was fantastic. I'm really glad that it wasn't 100 plus here because it wasn't very crowded at all. So remember, this is with all 4 windows popped in this Focus, and it's still 128. So I think we've very easily proven that opening the windows does not help. Now, I'm not saying you should break a window if you see a dog or a child in a parked car, but break a window. This is 128.3. Very hot. So let's make sure the feed's still going. Looks like. Oh, there was no change in that span of time there. Boy. So I'm probably going to have to come back and just hit this thing over and over. Oops. Not sure why I have the desktop pager on. I don't really use that very often. Just since the stream started, look how much it's raised outside. This is our outside temperature. 108. I'm going to call it now like anybody else would. We're going to break over 111 again. It's only 1 o'clock. So this one, I think both Patrick and Stefan are correct. I think it's going to really get up there today. Holy moly. And Amber Morgan's in the chat. My guess is the 130 range. Oops. Right now I'm basically just watching this thing to make sure it doesn't die again like it did. I think that's what I'm going to do. Since it's too hot to do anything outside, I'll probably build another better service for this thing. We are almost at 130 now. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and shut down the stream. Thank you all for coming to my silly. Oh, yeah. To be fair, thank you, all of you, for coming to my silly stream. I'm going to keep messing with this. I might jump back on later tonight. We'll implement a different one for tomorrow, or I'll come on stream tomorrow morning and put something different together. But for today, let's see how hot this car gets. Follow my Twitter, and I'll have the 2 links up there for outside and inside temperature if you're really curious to how hot this car is going to get. Seems to be leveling off a little bit, but I'm going to play with it. So if you're really curious, just follow these feeds on Twitter. And if you're watching my stream, you'll notice that I have right over here twitch.tv/Jeremy Morgan. Follow me on Twitch. I'm going to do more silly, experimental, geeky stuff like this on Twitch. And maybe not on all of the other platforms, so follow me on Twitch. And yeah, we're getting cooking in there. Again, thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. Everybody who follows me and talks to me. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, everybody who's jumped in. And we'll see you soon.